Pain while bench pressing can be a number of things. It can be a rotator cuff strain, it can be a pec strain. You might be experiencing some impingement symptoms at the shoulder. Regardless of what condition is present, there are prerequisite movement capabilities that you need to have to ensure that your bench press is pain-free. In this video, we will talk about those prerequisite movements. So with that being said, let's dive in. The first thing that we always want to ensure is that we have full unrestricted range of motion at the shoulder and the thoracic spine. Having free range of motion and having full access to these ranges of motion is going to ensure that your body is not fighting unnecessary stresses and strain while you're under a barbell. If you don't have full shoulder extension, for example, and then you load that pattern up, at some point you will likely experience pain as the weight on the bar is assisting you into a range that you can't freely go. This leads to unnecessary stress and strain on the shoulder, and it can be uncomfortable over time. So we will talk about addressing this limitation of shoulder extension in a number of different ways through this video. Another prerequisite that we need to have in order to have a pain-free bench press is we need to have a very strong and robust rotator cuff, as well as strong scapular stabilizing muscles, which are muscles that attach to the shoulder blade that assist in moving that barbell back up off of your chest. So by addressing range of motion and addressing some stability deficits that you may have, this will help you build a pain-free bench press. The other concept that I always go through, no matter what the movement pattern is load management. So when I say load management, it means working at an intensity and volume that does not significantly increase your symptoms. I typically tell people it's okay to have a little bit of discomfort as they are working on resolving their shoulder pain with bench press. However, we don't want to be pushing into those symptoms all the time. That's kind of like picking at a scab. So if you're constantly picking at a scab, the scab's never going to heal. Same thing applies with bench press. So if you're constantly bench pressing at an intensity and volume that is above your capacity, you're going to always be dealing with that shoulder pain. So the answer is not to quit bench pressing. The answer is to continue bench pressing while we work on these other deficits that I mentioned earlier in the video. So to start, we're going to start with a banded shoulder extension mobilization. This mobilization can be performed prior to your bench press workout. This is going to help open up the shoulder, free up some of that range of motion so that you can more comfortably move the bar through its path without fighting any of your mobility limitations. This next mobilization that we're going to cover is called the corner pec stretch. This one can also be performed at a rig. The goal of this movement is to help mobilize the pec prior to any kind of pressing movements to again open up that range of motion into shoulder extension and reduce the amount of stress and strain that is being caused due to a mobility limitation into extension when you are bench pressing. The third thing that we want to address is we want to start to build some stability in some of these deep stabilizing muscles of the shoulder so that when you are bench pressing, these small muscles are helping to create a very stable platform while you're bench pressing. This is going to help allow you to direct more force through the bar due to having a more stable platform. The example I like to give is, would you rather do a box jump off of some concrete flooring, or would you rather do it off of a sandy beach? The jump off of the concrete floor is going to produce a higher jump because you are jumping off of a more stable platform. The same concept applies when you're benching, when you're squatting, whatever activity it is. The more stable your foundation is, the more force you are going to be able to direct into the bar, which is going to lead to a healthier bar path and a healthier bench press long term. I did mention that we need to improve mobility in the thoracic spine as well. If you're thinking that that sounds counterintuitive because we want to create a lot of stiffness when we bench, it is one thing to be stiff, and it is another thing to be able to create stiffness. So we do want to have a good mobile thoracic spine within reason. So we are going to address some mobility concerns at the thoracic spine as well. So with that being said, here are some deep dives into the 3 mobilizations and the 1 strengthening exercise that you can start with to start building a healthier, pain-free bench press. For the banded extension mobilization for the shoulder, we're going to stick our hand through a band. I've got the band anchored to the rig. Once your hand is through the band, you're going to pull the band through so that it is between your index finger and thumb. And then you're going to kind of walk away from the rack so that your arm goes into this extended position. And then instead of having the palm down behind you, I want you to rotate that palm up towards the ceiling just as best you can within what's comfortable. And that's going to increase the amount of stretch that you feel in your pec here. So you can kind of lean into this stretch a little bit if you want. Find a comfortable amount of stretch, and that's something that you're going to hold for about 10 to 15 seconds and then back off, and then you can repeat it 3 times. For the corner pec stretch, again, you can do this in a corner with both arms at the same time, or if you have a squat rack or rig, you can do 1 arm at a time at the rig. So we want our elbow to be about shoulder height. You're going to have your feet in kind of a staggered stance, so 1 foot is out in front of the other. And then all you're going to do is kind of turn away until you start to feel a little bit of a stretch. And then from this position, you can shift more of your weight onto that front foot. This is going to intensify the stretch. So again, we want to find a comfortable stretch, something that we can hold for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then we'll back off. And you can repeat that about 3 times on each arm. This mobilization is going to help increase the amount of extension available in the thoracic spine, and it's also going to give you a good stretch on your lats at the same time. So we're going to find the edge of a squat rack or a rig. You can do this 1 arm at a time or both. I'm going to do both here. It should feel like you're leaning into the rack a little bit. You want your hands to be at shoulder height or slightly above. Again, it depends on your symptoms. We just want to find a stretch that is comfortable. So from here, all I'm going to do is slightly bend my knees and then hinge like I'm doing an RDL. And I'm going to drop my head through my shoulders here. And we're going to hold this bottom position for about 10 to 15 seconds. You can take 2 or 3 really deep breaths in and out to help mobilize that thoracic spine as well. Once you hold for 10 or 15 seconds, you can give yourself a break and then repeat 3 times. In order to help warm up some of those deep stabilizing muscles of the shoulder, we're going to get a mini band and place it around our wrists. And then you're going to grab a couple of dumbbells that you feel comfortable doing dumbbell bench press with. Again, we want this to be a weight that does not significantly increase our symptoms. This is going to feel a little different. You're going to feel some muscles in your shoulders working a little more than they normally would, but that's the goal of this, is we're trying to kind of prime and warm up some of those deep shoulder stabilizing muscles. So once you get your band set up, we're going to get to this position here, and then as you come down, the band should have a little bit of tension as if you were pulling the band apart. What we don't want is for the dumbbells to come together. I want you to focus on keeping a little bit of that tension on the band pulling apart on the way down and on the way up. And we're going to do a couple sets of like 10 to 12 reps here, just focusing on keeping that tension on the band as you're going through that dumbbell bench press motion. Thank you for watching this video. If you're liking this content so far, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button below so that you don't miss any videos in the future. If you would like to set up your free remote performance physical therapy pathway assessment, where we do a one-on-one consultation via a Zoom call, click the button below and fill out the consultation form, and then I will reach out to you to get your Zoom call scheduled. I hope you're liking this content. Tune in on Thursday for another video, and I'll see you then.